Lauren. Thank you for coming on the show. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Not at all. Lauren Rogers is a VA. She's been a VA for 5 years and she's based in Essex. So I'm going to run you through the three questions I've got prepared for you, and then afterwards there'll be one question for you to return and ask me just to wrap up the interview. But we'll start with, what's your journey to becoming a VA been like?
It's been interesting, but I don't regret it at all. So I started off as a corporate executive assistant working for one of the biggest logistic companies in the world, we'll just say that. And I did really enjoy it, but I felt like there was no flexibility. And I was working in London at the time, so the commute was very long and very boring. So I decided to be my own boss and start up the virtual assistant business. Um, as I started, it wasn't really a thing, and COVID had just hit, so it was quite a big leap. And then the best thing about COVID was virtual assistants then become more acceptable, working from home become more acceptable. So then I started from there. I found my first client with someone I knew, and then I joined an agency as an associate and built up my confidence, and then went off on my own. So it's been 5 years now. It's been really good. And yeah, I don't regret it at all.
And do you think when you first got your client on and you became an associate, was that just like a game changer? You were like, I can do this now. You got your home set up. Everything just sort of fell into place.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the biggest difference between being a executive assistant or a virtual assistant is managing multiple clients.
Yeah.
And that's where the gap is, where people think they can just do it if they've been a PA, but actually it's a lot of headspace, it's a lot of switching context. So once I started to manage a few clients, I was like, oh, this is how you do it. And I found my flow.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the biggest challenge I found. But as soon as I like got it, then I was off.
And I tried balancing. I had two clients at one point, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the focus of one to two, and one was trying to contact me, and I wasn't on top of the other one. I didn't give myself enough time to get into the flow of it, like you
Yeah.
say. But what do you do to separate the sort of priorities to the clients to the time? How do you manage it all?
I think there's multiple things to it. I think it's one, just managing your own workload, so
Mm.
prioritizing. So, for example, every morning I write down, I'm still an oldie and use my notebook. I've
Yeah.
tried Hello, I've tried all these systems, but I love my notebook. So I write down all my priorities and yeah, all my to-do list, sorry, prioritize.
Mm.
Um, so that's the way I do it. And also I think the main thing is expectations to clients. You are
Yeah.
not a full-time employee that every minute you need to be answering on the ball. I think if they send you a task, go, okay, that's fine. When is the deadline? And just pushing back a bit, because I think that's when you feel more relaxed, you're managing their expectations, you're managing your own to-do list, and then you can also plan for the week. So if they send you a presentation to do,
Yeah.
it feels urgent, but for them, they're like, I don't need it until like 3 weeks' time. So you can put it in your diary and just manage it that way. So I think it's just communicating with the client and being a bit on the ball with your tasks.
Yeah, managing expectations is a massive one. And I suppose I always, when I was in the VA, when I was a bit of VA, I found WhatsApp it came across like it was an urgent task. But like you said, they were just thinking and then they wanted to get it off their mind onto your to-do list. And I would
Yeah,
go out and I'd be like, oh my God, well, I can't do it right now. And then she'd be like, no, 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 it's like next Wednesday. But it's just a case of communicating.
yeah,
If
100%.
if you don't and you stress you go mad stressing about it and get it done in a day's time and they're like we don't need it, then everything else has sort of lost its plan because you've been focused on that one thing. But I think that's a really important one, and actually something that as a new starter they probably wouldn't know to sort of really check deadlines to see how urgent it is, because you just sort of every time a task comes in when you're employed you just do
Jump.
it. Yeah, exactly.
I'll
Exactly.
do it. And
Yeah.
it's like, no,
Yeah.
just breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think yeah, then you can manage your time and sort of have half decent, nice days. So that's really interesting. Thank you. And secondly, what are your top tips for getting started as a VA?
So, where to begin? I'd say for first top tips, I would say have your brand, your visibility,
Mm,
locked in. And that doesn't mean going on Canva and creating a logo that just says Lauren Virtual Assistant. I
mm,
think it's really thinking about your clients and who you want to target and who you are, showing your personality, like just really locking in your brand, because yes, it can change, but I think if you just rush into things like that, you don't actually believe in what you're doing and who you are. And I think you're representing you. So I think it's really getting clear around who you're targeting, your messaging, what you want your brand to look like, to kind of go with that. For example, my main clientele is kind of like busy CEOs. So my brand is, you know, wanting to be professional, approachable, all these things. So I think it's just thinking about that. I also think top tips would, get your website, you know, an Instagram, a LinkedIn, just get all your profiles set up. So if anyone goes to look for you, you know, you've got a presence online. And that also is with email. I do think it's really important is getting a domain, which is then links to your website. I think I've seen people I'm a virtual assistant at gmail.com. Are you really going to trust a company that's trying to sell you something with a just standard handle? So I think getting your like domain locked in, your socials, I say, are the top things. I also would say networking is really important. So if you are struggling to find clients, you need to put yourself out there. Clients aren't just going to find you on Instagram or find you on LinkedIn and be like, great, let's work together. I've been doing this for 5 years. That's hardly ever happened. Most of my clients have come from either referrals or me going and putting myself out there. So I would say that's super important. And when you're there, making sure that you're talking to people and building relationships. It's not going there and throwing your business card at people and saying, please, I'm a VA, sign up. It's knowing your worth, knowing your script when you're going to a network event, like this is what I can do for you, and attending. And then maybe last but not least is I'd say if you have no PA or EA experience, I see it a lot of the time, and this isn't me bashing anyone, just seeing it on TikTok. You can have a flexible lifestyle that sell you the dream. You can earn this amount in this amount of time. I think it's really important that yes, you can go and be a VA, and yes, you can have no experience. But if you want to be a good VA and last in the industry and do a good job, then you need to go and do a course or get some experience, because it is really important that you don't add to that kind of stereotype or kind of thing. So I'm losing my words here, but I do think it's really important that you get the experience as well, to do a good job, because people do deserve good EAs.
Yeah, exactly. And they're committing so much. Alicia Fairclough was on our co-working call, what day are we? On Wednesday. And she said to take on, and she made a really interesting point from an angle I hadn't heard from before. To take on an assistant takes so much time from the employer. And so they're committing, I don't want to put a number on it, but committing like so many hours to training you, how they want you to do it, how they like it being done.
Yeah.
They're handing over their baby as such, because you're sort of managing the emails, you're replying to their customers or clients, that you're being them more or less. And if someone's committing that much time and effort into you, and you're sort of, I don't know, either new to it or haven't done a course or just aren't like ready to go, like ready to put yourself forward and be in that position, then it's just not fair on them. And
yeah,
like you say, it can just put a bad name. But I do think the TikTok and the Instagrams are a false illusion, because they basically imply that you're going to have a really flexible life. You're going to earn like 10K a month, I saw on one of them.
Yeah,
it's not realistic.
No.
You have to work your socks off for like whatever like hourly rate you're on.
Yeah,
you work really hard for that money. And I do think they sometimes portray like, just get a job, move to Bali, you can lie on sun lounge and do your work. And it's like, no, you can't.
Well, I think this is the thing. You can in snippets, but I tell you now, for years, I have not worked at least 9 to 5 or 7 to 3 or picked my hours, because obviously I'm just trying to build my business. But
yeah,
do you think, yes, it's flexible,
yeah,
but it's not the way it's sold to be flexible.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned all the tops. Thank you for those. And just on really basic stuff, tech. What tech did you buy for your home setup when you started?
I think obviously first a good laptop. I started with a really like bright pink Microsoft or like HP, sorry, laptop. And it like completely just blew up within 3 months. And then I was like, yeah, it's not going to work. So then I invested in a Mac, and I've honestly had this ever since, like 4+ years, and I love it.
Yeah,
But I think investing in good tech like that, just a good laptop is the first basic thing you just
yeah,
need. And then obviously if you want to then like use different platforms, you've got for the business, like we use Toggle, you've got Clockify, you've got your time tracking systems, which
yeah.
are free. You've got your like password, saving platforms, which
Yeah.
again are free. I use LastPass, you've got Dashlane, you've got all
What
these ones.
oh, Dashlane, what do you use for your passwords?
So I use LastPass.
Do you?
Most of my clients do, but one uses Dashlane, which I think is really
Yeah,
important.
I've used Dashlane. It makes life so much easier because
I know.
you can save addresses, you can save cards, you can save whatever passwords. Yeah, it was an absolute game changer because I
Yeah.
can imagine there's nothing more annoying than being midway through a task and not being able to sort of
No.
get
And
somewhere.
especially with, sorry to cut there, but especially with banking, like with
Mm,
clients, like bank cards and stuff, where are you going to store that?
yeah,
The amount of times that people have sent me their bank details on WhatsApp, and yes, it's encrypted, but I'm like, yeah, this I'm not being responsible for you need to remember you're
yeah,
responsible for their data. So I always make sure that it's in their system in a safe LastPass.
yeah.
In my LastPass, it's in their LastPass. And I think that's really important as well.
Oh, I see what you mean. Have you ever forgotten your password for something like Dashlane?
Always. We're all human because you can't don't want to write it down somewhere because it
I
defeats the point of
know.
data protection.
And
And
if
then
you
you're like,
forget,
where is it?
if you forget your password, you then got to go through it back to another thing and back to another thing. But my old boss forgot it, and it was like an absolute maze to get back in because obviously it's so secure.
I know, I know, but they're good. But yeah, I'd say getting started, good laptop,
Yeah,
you know, platform to keep all your data safe, and then all the other things are just nice to have, really.
yeah. And I do. I was off a monitor for a bit, so I was just using my laptop. And ever since I've got my screen back, I now get like fear that I'm going to have to do some work without it because there's just
No.
it's so weird, isn't it? You get so used to it. And I have a keyboard and a mouse here just to help the like the sort of daily work. And yeah, when I go if I go out traveling or got the train or something on my laptop, I feel
Back. So
so
good.
stuck. Yeah. And it's weird. I never thought I'd be when I first got a screen, I was like, what the hell are these? And now they're just like a game changer. But anyway, that's a setup for probably later
Yeah,
on
it
the
took
line.
it
But
took me a good few years to realize I actually need to invest in a really good chair
yeah, yeah,
because my back is I'm still getting physio for my back because of the way we work. So yeah, just
yeah.
like a laptop on, skill
Yeah, that's
much.
a
It's
really good point.
yeah, you need a good chair and you put it
Yeah,
for the business. Remember.
exactly. But we used to have human scale chairs at our last office, and they were so nice. But I think you're actually made a really good point about the chair because I'm sitting on this garden chair, which you can't even
Oh
see.
no, you
I
need
know.
to invest in a chair. They got such good ones online as well. One of my clients, I think, spent like 3 grand on his chair. And I was like, are you okay? And he was like, if you work out the amount of days and hours I sit
Hours.
there, he said it's not even like 5p a day. So it's worth it. And I was like, I
It
mean,
is.
that's taking it to the extreme, but
I know, but he'll have a good back. But I went to Curry's the other day, and as you do, and sat on the gaming chairs. It was,
they're
I
good.
would I would fall
Oh,
asleep
my
on
partner's
something.
got a gaming chair. It's
Yeah,
really amazing. Yeah.
they're unreal, yeah. But on that, so how did you find the transition to becoming an agency?
So it took me 4 years to transition to an agency. Um, because my main battle was confidence and my other battle was trust. And I think going from a PA to a VA is a leap in itself. And it's having the trust within yourself and the confidence to run your own business and look after clients. But
Yeah.
I also do think then the next stage to take the leap into becoming an agency and depending on team members that you have no visibility sorry, like in person, but
Mm,
obviously online you do, it's like a whole other ball game. So I think just learning to, yeah, trust is the most important
mm,
thing. Um, but saying that, it's been great so far. I think having a really strenuous recruitment process is important. So making sure that you just really like get to know them before and just make sure they're aligned on like your values and personality.
yeah.
You're going to be working together
Did you
and
meet them in
you're
person during the interview process?
sorry,
Did you meet them in person during the interview
no,
process?
no. They're like miles away.
Yeah, they're in Bali.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I do think that if I can't trust someone virtually, so how are clients going to trust me
Yeah,
virtually?
very, very good point.
Yeah, so I think I don't need to meet people in person to like you. I instantly
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you. And like if we met I feel like every time I've met a client in person or someone online in person, it's not really that different, to be
Yeah.
honest, if you're
Yeah.
building up that relationship. So um yeah, I forgot your question, sorry.
It was how do you find the transition to becoming an agency?
So yeah, just overall, I think I built up in my head it'll be way more difficult than it is. But
Yeah.
actually, if you have all the right things in place,
Mm.
it can be quite, you know, seamless, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's just making sure that you have everything in place and you feel like you're in control and you're doing the right thing, interviewing the right people, speaking to the right people.
Mm.
Um, and I also do think that I've seen before people hire teams like associates and they just ignore them or don't acknowledge once they've done an interview and things like that. And I think it's just really important that you are kind to everyone kind of applying and
Yeah.
to onboarding because yeah, we're all in the same boat here. We're all just trying to make money.
I know.
Vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think what you said about trusting, because as someone the other day I spoke to said like you've got as an employer or a business owner, you have to sort of stop chasing like total perfection because otherwise you'll just send yourself crazy and you'll probably fail because you can't hire someone if you're chasing this sort of idea of
Yeah.
perfection. And it was a really good point to me because when I start hiring for our team, it's good. It's really hard as an assistant to trust someone else is gonna like
I
they're gonna
know.
do the job, and it's like one thing maybe not as good as you do, and you're like, oh God, should I just do it myself? And
I know. It's so hard. It's so
it's
hard.
so hard, and you're yeah. I think there's that. I think that's probably a hard part in it. It's just finding the right people. But I suppose once you've done that hard bit, you've got a team and you've got I don't know how many assistants you have under you, but you've got it. Then I suppose happy days. But it's just you just got to do that hard bit to get everyone there.
Yeah. I've always thought as well, if they don't know, I know. And that's not in like an arrogant way, but
Yeah,
if they don't know how to use a certain platform, I know, so that's fine. And if I don't know how to use a platform,
yeah,
I can ask them. They might know. So actually, it's a
yeah,
bonus because you've
yeah,
got two brains, two different experiences. And also, you sometimes shouldn't hire you know, the same person as you because
yeah,
actually, every individual brings a different experience and a different skill,
yeah.
um, which is actually the best thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think the other day, Alicia was talking about Trello a lot, and she uses Trello for everything. And you briefly mentioned it earlier, but there are tools that people have as like their thing. They use it, whether it be they're an expert in Zero, they're an expert in Trello, they're an expert in Dash Lane, whatever. But people have their own sort of things. And I think yeah, I think you're right. Employ someone who doesn't do exactly what you do, and then you just sort of cover all bases.
Yeah, 100%. And as virtual assistants or PAs or EAs, are we going to know everything? No. But
Yeah,
are we open to learning everything? Yes. And I
yeah.
think it's really important, especially going back to starting as a VA. If you
Mm,
don't know, don't lie and don't go, oh yeah, I can do that. Just be like, I
yeah,
have no experience in that, but are you willing to invest in time for me to learn?
yeah,
Or I can go and train in it, or I can go and ask someone. I think
yeah,
don't sell yourself as the dream because then that's when your confidence shatters and you're not going to do a good job. I
yeah.
think you just got to be honest and yeah, just go for it, really.
Thank you for those interesting answers. I think all round that's actually taken us from a journey from sort of starting to owning an agency, which I think a lot of people when they start it will be their sort of end goal to eventually have a team of 3 or 4 of them where they all work together. But just to wrap up the interview, do you have a question for me?
Yes, I do. What inspired you to start Pally Talk? And sorry, I'm cheating with questions. What inspired you to start Pally Talk? And also, I love your branding. So can you talk about the journey for that?
Yes.
Sorry, I cheated with 2 questions.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh, what do
So
I-
first, what inspired you, and then your
What
branding.
inspired? So I was an EA, like family office EA, pretty much just 24/7. You're always sort of on call as such, but available. And then
Yeah,
I went to being a VA and realized that you're spending time at home. Like I saw my husband comes back for lunch. Like suddenly I can walk the dog. Like I don't know, it just was better for me at my stage of life then. I was pregnant, so I was a pregnant VA. When you're pregnant, you have loads of appointments, and having flexible work was like a godsend because then I wanted to create a platform where returning mum, it was meant to be sort of returning mums wanting to enter the industry to get their confidence back before they went back to work full time, let's say, or if they just wanted a part-time job. And so the community side was to sort of bring all us assistant heads together. So if someone needed a tailor in St. Moritz or a driver in Dubai or advice on a course to do, they could just ask others in the industry, and we could all sort of support each other to either enter the industry, grow in the industry. And that's sort of where the inspiration came from. It was sort of so that was the inspiration. Then the other question was
I love your branding.
the branding.
Talk me how you got to your brand.
The branding. So initially it was Connect Me. Did I ever connect with you back then? In December when I launched, it was Connect Me with a 3 for the E. And I contacted a branding agency and they said, you got to drop that number because no one's going to find you. Everyone's going to be typing in the wrong E, the wrong whatever.
Yeah.
And then we went on a crazy domain search, as like when you're looking for a domain and nothing exists. And then we went Connect Me. It was like Pally Talk. I wish I'd had the list of all the names that we went through, but I always wanted to have something like chat or talk or something in the name. But anyway, we found Pally Talk on the web domain, and then a friend from school called Georgie Sladen did the branding, and I wanted it to be a unisex color, and so that it's just and then I literally gave her directions for about an hour on a Zoom call, and she came back with this, and I was like, oh my God, I love it. Yeah, she was like, do you like it? I was like, yes. And it was just perfect. And I love the orange. And she just, someone just understands what you wanted. And she just, nailed it. But she's the most incredible graphic designer. So if anyone needs one.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I always think when you pop up, I just love her logo. Because I'm also orange, but I'm like a rustic orange.
Yeah.
When I started, I did everything like black and white, which I love. I love like simple. But then I rebranded to become the agency, and I was like, I want a bit of me in this.
Yeah.
My colour. So then whenever I see orange, which is you, I think, yeah. It's not EasyJet orange either. That's where you go wrong, where yours isn't and mine isn't.
I know, but I saw EasyJet had a sale in January and they called it the big orange sale. And I was listening to it, it kept coming up. I think it must have been Heart Radio or something. It kept coming up. And I was like, big orange, maybe orange is the new branded colour. But
oh, amazing. Well, it's been so nice to chat, and thanks for that.
And you. Thank you very much.